Starting the haul off, we have Blue Lock by Muneyuki Kaneshiro with art by Yusuke Nomura. This is one that just got out of Kodansha Digital jail, and I was super excited when it got announced that it was getting physical copies. Comes in the standard oversized trim, not standard oversized, but in the oversized trim that Kodansha puts out with the matte cover, which is really nice. Does get dinged up pretty easily though. And then we have another Kodansha release with Boys Run the Riot. This is the final volume by Keito Gaku. It's a thick volume, but only about half of it is the Boys Run the Riot story, with the other half being dedicated to the one-shot that inspired Boys Run the Riot and got Keito Gaku noticed by the publisher. It was a really satisfying ending, and I'm excited to see what else that we get in English from Keito Gaku in the future. Next up, we have the Bungo Stray Dogs light novels, volumes 7 and 8. This is some side stories within the Bungo Stray Dogs universe. These two volumes, specifically 7 and 8, are focused on young Chuya and young Dazai when they were in the Port Mafia together. I was excited to get this in because Chuya's not in the manga that much, and it sucks, and he's my wife's favorite character. And then volume 8 was shockingly thick. You'll see here. It's like twice the size of volume 7, and when I got the package in the mail, I honestly thought that they sent me the wrong book. Like, I could feel through the package. I was like, this feels wide. But it was right. It's just a very thick light novel volume. And next up we have Claudine by Ryoko Ikeda. This is put out by 7 Seas with a really nice silver foil for the name. This is an LGBT trans story, one of the first ever published, but like most of the work put out by Ikeda and her peers during the late 70s, early 80s, it is really sad, very bury your gaze. I am getting rid of it because it's not really something I want to keep on my shelf, even if it was really influential. Coming up, we have Dorahedoro by Kyuyu Hayashida. This is the series that I picked up the most volumes for over the last few months. I waited for these volumes to come back into stock instead of purchasing any overpriced scalper books. It just isn't worth it. With Viz putting out not re-releases, but like printing additional copies of these books, and it doesn't look like it's going to be stopping anytime soon since it is still a high-selling series with a lot of people looking to pick it up. I really do enjoy the releases that Viz puts out for these with the French flaps and extended artwork. It really does create a really striking cover, and they're all really nice volumes, very easy to take care of versus the earlier volumes that Kodansha put out, the Boys Run the Riot and Blue Lock. The gloss covers here are a lot sturdier, where the artwork won't get damaged as easily. I will say I've only read about 3 of the volumes so far, so I'm not super 100% on where the story goes, but I'm really excited to take the journey because the whole manga was recommended to me by a friend who has been into it for many years and used to read it via scans. And when the anime came out in 2019, I was able to take in the series for the first time since I'd completely forgotten to pick it up or look for it online at that point. And I really enjoyed the anime, even if some of the animation, especially during the fights, was a little meh. I was excited by the story and the world. Hayashida creates a very rich world filled with like all these crazy characters. It's just a lot of fun. You know, though that explicit tag in the bottom of all these volumes is very well earned, and if you are someone who gets a little like ugged out at blood, violence, body horror, anything like that, the series is definitely not going to be for you. It is filled to the brim with all of that and more. And I really enjoyed what I've read so far and everything I've seen in the anime, so I'm excited to see where this story goes. And now that I'm slowly getting all the volumes, I'm really excited to continue my reading. I had to stop because when I stopped, I had run out of books in order. But now that I have more, I can read more. I initially was going to borrow it from my local library. My library has a fair selection of manga, but Dorohedoro was not among it, and I'm wondering if it's because it's so adult. I mean, I say that, but then they have stuff like Akira and Devilman in their collection, so it might just be that Dorohedoro until recently wasn't really talked about outside of the people in the know. But most of these volumes I got for at least 15% off. Some volumes I was able to get more off. I picked a few up with the most recent Viz sale on Right Stuff. So those volumes I got for 30% off, and I picked up a few volumes as well from my local comic book shop, Dragon's Lair. They always do at least 10% off of manga. So if I can, I try to pick up from them because they are a little independent bookstore, a little independent comic store, and the owner's like super nice. I love shopping with them. Every time I go in, everyone's super duper nice. The owners, even the other people purchasing. And then we come to, I think this is, no, not this one. I was gonna say, I think this is my favorite cover. It's not, but it's still good. All of Kyu Hayashida's color artwork for these covers is absolutely breathtaking, as is the artwork on the interior, but I did not want to flip through because I don't know what's going to be in the volumes, and I don't really want to spoil too much for anybody who may watch these videos. So showing off the covers might have spoilers here and there, but at least for Dorohedoro, it might have a spoiler on the cover, but without context, or even with context, you might not even know what's happening. But, oh yeah, here we go. This is my favorite cover. It has the gang. I love the gang. Gang's all here. Yeah, this is probably my favorite. But you can see here, the extended artwork's just so nice on those French flaps. And then we come to the last volume I was able to pick up these last few months for Dorohedoro, and that's 22. This came into stock at my local Barnes & Noble really randomly. Like, they never had any Dorohedoro volumes ever, and suddenly they had 22. And I was like, okay, sure, I'll grab it. And I don't know what this guy is, but he looks wild. And like I said, even if I knew what he was and had context, I wouldn't know. And then we move on to Frieren, Beyond Journey's End. Probably one of my favorite shonen to come out of the last few years. I really enjoy the quiet take on a fantasy adventure. The focus on Frieren, learning to appreciate the mortality of those around her and the fleeting life that they lead when she's so long-lived is so fascinating, and it's so interesting to see a story from a character like that who's a little bit detached, but not so much so that she gives up. It's very interesting to see how she's retracing the steps of her original. Up next is Mosai no Hara's from the Red Fog, a new release from Yen Press. I really like this release. There's a few dings on my volume just because of damage that I caused to it when I got it from my local bookshop. It was in perfect condition. The story itself is pretty bleak and dire, so go into that one with caution. Next, it was volumes 1 through 5 of Go With the Clouds, North by Northwest by Aki Irie. This is a series that follows our main character, a boy who can speak to vehicles and electronics, and his job as a mystery solver, basically. He goes and he's basically a private investigator, but for more basically a private investigator. It takes place in Iceland, which is why you see Icelandic all over the back when with the drawings. The art is incredibly beautiful, as expected by Aki Irie. It's also super weird, which is, again, expected by this mangaka, with her previous English release being Ron and the Grey World. I haven't checked that out yet, but I've heard mixed reviews, but it does sound like something I want to check out, and my local library has some copies, so I don't need to pick that up. I had initially seen these volumes, or at least volume 1 and 2, when I went to Japan in 2019, and the art just like drew me in. And I actually saw volume 1 at my local library, so I picked it up, really enjoyed it, and then found out they weren't getting anything past volume 3. So all these volumes were picked up secondhand, aside from volume 4, which was picked up during a vertical sale from Right Stuff. But everything was in immaculate condition. My volumes 1 and 2 were an eBay buy. I got both volumes for only $10 with free shipping. It was buck wild. And this is volume 5. Volume 5 is pretty cool. It's a little bit thicker, but it has some extra volume, not volumes, but extra stories in the back that don't have anything to do with the main story. So it was a pretty nice, like, little addition. I don't know why I put it back. Why did I do that? And then next we have MXTX's Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, the really nice English releases by 7 Seas. Glad 7 Seas finally did the good thing and what's that called? Had their union. I haven't read any of the Grandmaster Demonic Cultivation novels yet, but I have watched the show and watched the anime, and yeah. And then I Want to Be a Wall by Honami Shirono was a new Yen Press release. Follows the love story of an asexual woman and a gay man. Not love story, but their marriage. And then this was me showing off. A lot of my Yen Press volumes have been coming with a weird missing portion to the front cover where there's just like a sliver of the first page showing. But yeah, this was a really good volume 1, and I'm excited to see more. Kaiju number 8 volume 2 by Naoya Matsumoto. Love Kaiju number 8. I've been reading it weekly on the Shonen Jump app, and with reading it weekly on the Shonen Jump app, I actually decided to get rid of this volume. Just because I do have very limited shelf space, and with Kaiju number 8 getting longer, it's not a priority for me since I can read it through the Shonen Jump app. Up next is volumes 5 and 6 of The King's Beast by Rei Toma, one of the few shoujo series I've picked up these last few months. And it's just really good. It's a very good political drama with a little bit of gender bendy shenanigans and romance. It's a lot of fun. Volume 6 did have a little bit of non-con elements to it, which, just a heads up for anybody going into that who that may upset. But overall it was treated pretty well. Nobody was actually like super essayed, so you know, it is what it is. And then we have Links by Natsuki Kizu. This is a short story collection they put out before Given, and if I'm going to be honest, it was not the best. Yeah, I ended up putting this up for sale. It just wasn't my thing. A lot of the characters looked the same and it got kind of confusing. Okay, and then next we have My Dress Up Darling by, oh my gosh, Shinichi Fukura. Oh my god. Yeah, I actually read My Dress Up Darling when by scans before I even knew that it was out in English, and before I'd watched the anime, and I was really excited when the anime came out, and kind of just kept an eye out for all the volumes at good prices. I got volumes 1 and 2 through a Mercari seller for like $10 for both of them. And then, like everyone else under the sun, I'm waiting for volume 3 to get reprinted. I do have that on back order with Right Stuff. along with the more current volumes. I'm not in a rush since I have read up to current through scans, but I really love the art and I think it's a great series, and it's the only Square Enix title I have on my shelf at the moment. Square Enix does put out some really interesting titles, but just none of them are my jam. So it's nice to have a different publisher, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what else I maybe pick up from them in the future. And then next is going to be the Monogatari light novels that I picked up. Every single one of these is going to be secondhand or picked up via the vertical sale that Right Stuff had a couple months ago. So everything here was at least 30% off, with some being more. And I'll be honest, I haven't read this far in the series or even watched this far in the anime. I just know that I really like the Monogatari series in what I have watched and read. So this was just me showing off the really nice French flaps. The Vertical did a fantastic job with these releases. A part of me wishes I could have gotten the box sets, but also since I am not sure I'm gonna keep these after I finish reading the entirety of the series, I didn't feel like the investment in the box sets was necessarily worth it for me personally. I'm so sorry about the dog in the background. But yeah, so I was able to get all of these for a really good deal. All the used ones were through eBay or Mercari. The eBay volumes I know I got for at like $8 with free shipping. And the Mercari one, the final volume you're gonna see here. Yeah, so this one was a used copy. I'm showing off some of the damages that it came with. Very minimal, all things considered. And then yeah, this one was a Mercari seller. Yeah, this one was maybe, I think it came out to about $9 for the volume. And then no damage on this one. The next one, the Owari Monogatari Part 2, it came with it was like $3 plus $2 shipping or $4 shipping or something. And it was totally fine. And then I'm gonna show it where I tried to take off a sticker and slipped. And you know, that's what I get for being a little overzealous. But for me personally, like, dents like that aren't a humongous deal. Yeah, there's the giant hole I stabbed in it. That was a me issue. And because I poked a hole, the remover I was using for the sticker seeped into the cover and caused some staining as well. So the bends and stuff you see along the cover is damage that it came with, and for being $3 plus like very minimal shipping, I'm not going to be too bothered about it. I'm not keeping it on the shelf for like prettiness sake, especially because it's, you know, the feet cover. So it's gonna be, it was nice. Okay, and the next up, volume 16 of the Royal Tutor by Higasa Akai. This was a volume that I was pretty excited for, with volume 17 being the final volume. I may or may not pick up the final volume. 16 ended my favorite arc, so I'm not really too keen on it, and I haven't collected the whole thing. Next is Run on Your New Legs by Wataru Midori. This is a new volume, a new release from Yen Press, again with that weird cover thing. This is a 5-volume series completed in Japan, and it was about a boy who was on the soccer team and experienced an incident where he lost his leg and was forced to be held back a year. This is him learning how to run again with some sports prosthetics. And then next is going to be some Saint Youngman volumes that I picked up during one of the Kodansha sales from Right Stuff. They were 30% off each, by Hikaru Nakamura. You may know her, if you don't know Saint Youngman, you may know her from Arakawa Under the Bridge. So each of the Saint Youngman hardcovers comes with the color pages in the middle that show off the other volume cover that it would otherwise have, because these are 2-in-1s. I will say they're not my favorite editions. I would much rather Kodansha have put out standard omnibuses with soft covers versus these hard covers. Just because the paper quality inside is still the regular paper quality you would find in one of their standard releases. So it just feels like it got the hardcover treatment to just make it more expensive for the sake of it. And it doesn't really add anything, and I think the spines are kind of ugly. But that's, you know, that's all personal feelings. Yeah, gosh, her color artwork is so nice. I am glad that they did include the other covers at the very least on the interior, even if it would have been nice just to have it like at the front, like most omnibus do, but you know, I digress. I'm glad we still at least got it. Yeah, and then volume 8. This series is currently 19 volumes in Japan. I think by the time I get this up, volume 20 may be out. So, cooking. So they may, I believe they've delayed the release of the volume 10 omnibus in English just because we need time to be able to translate the volumes, since volume 10 for some reason was slated for July or August, even though the release in Japan wasn't until late July. And then we have Sasaki Miyano from Sho, yeah, another yen press with the weird cover, Sho Harusono. This is volume 5 in the Sasaki Miyano series. It's just like a cute BL, super slow burn comedy, slice of life. You know, the good stuff. Okay, volume 2 for MXTX's The Scum Villain Self-Saving System. I love the artwork on this. This is the one of the MXTX's releases that I am completely caught up on. It's also the shortest with only 4 volumes, so we're going to be finishing this up this year. I believe the 4th and final volume is coming out November. I could be mistaken. It could also get pushed back. And then we have Seaside Stranger, volume 3, Harukaze no Etranje, by Kii Kana. BL story about a boy who is trying to make his way back into his family. I haven't read this volume yet. Oh, also this is put out by 7 Seas. Sorry, that was volume 2. This is volume 3. I forgot we got 2 of these since the beginning of the year. Volume 2 I read. Volume 3 I have not read. Volume 2 we meet the family for the estranged boy. So we'll see how that goes. And next we have Succubus and Hitman by Makoto Fukami with art by Seigo Tokiya. Very much a beat 'em up, shoot 'em up series. Comes plastic wrapped. It is torture porn at points, but it's still interesting. Got a good premise. And coming up next, we have A White Rose in Bloom by Sumiko Nakamura. This volume took forever to come out, but it is a Yuri by Nakamura, so I'm not gonna be too kind about it. But it was good. It was a good volume. I just wish they came out faster, but what can you do? And then we have To Strip the Flesh by Ototora. This is a short story compilation. I really loved it. The main story is about gender dysmorphia, or dysphoria, sorry. And how our main character deals with that as a trans man. Ototora was also an assistant to Tatsuki Fujimoto, and I'm really loving everything that's coming out from Fujimoto's assistants recently. And then finally, The Witch and the Beast. Please excuse the out of alphabetical order. The Witch and the Beast by Kosuke Satake. This is volume 8, and I love the art in this. I love the story. The most recent arc for me personally was the weakest, but I don't know if that's because I read it while I was on bed rest after I broke my elbow. So I should probably give it another go. Sorry for the cut there, but then I forgot to include this. This is Boyish Squared, a Butch Yuri anthology. This was a anthology doujin that I backed on Kickstarter that arrived in the mail, and I absolutely loved it. It's a lot of fun. You see a lot of different art styles, and it's something you don't see in normal manga, so it was nice, a good refreshing take. Anyway, thanks guys, and I hope you enjoyed this haul. Don't forget to subscribe and all that YouTube stuff. I'm planning to do at least a little bit more with this channel. So, hope to see you in the future.